Hello, and welcome to this guide on how to use Turning Point Web. First of all, you will need a Turning Point account. You can get an account by emailing your local HEFI team and they will be able to send you information on how to apply for a Turning Point account. If you already have a Turning Point account from using the desktop app, then you'll be able to use that to sign in. To sign in, go to instructel.turningtechnologies.eu and click Get Started. You can then sign in using your Turning Point account. Once you have signed into Turning Point, you'll be presented with your active courses. If you haven't signed into Turning Point before, this area will be blank. You can create an active course by clicking on the Create Course button. Give your course a name. And click Create. You can then select your course to go into it. Alternatively, if you have linked up Canvas to your Turning Point account, you can select an existing Canvas course that you are subscribed to. Additional information is available on how to use Canvas and link it to your Turning Point account. For this video, we will just use a course that we have created within Turning Point Web. You enter the course by clicking Select. Within a Turning Point Web course, you will find a group of questions that you have previously created. If you haven't created any previous questions, this area will be blank. The questions that you create all appear within each Turning Point Web course. We therefore recommend creating a folder to keep different sets of questions in. You can access the folders by clicking on them and creating content within. In order to create content within Turning Point Web, you click on the Create Content button. You can give your content a name and click Create. This will create for you a blank poll. Within the poll, you can add various types of questions using the Create button. Clicking on the main part of the Create button will add a standard MCQ question, or multiple choice question. Clicking on the drop-down arrow will allow you to select the type of question you wish to create. There's a choice of multiple choice, short answer, numeric, or hotspot. Additionally, you can enter information as text, or you can upload an existing PowerPoint. Please be aware that if you do upload a PowerPoint, you are unable to edit those PowerPoint slides within Turning Point Web, and you need to edit them within PowerPoint itself. So we'd recommend finalising your PowerPoint before adding it. First of all, I will create a multiple choice question. Within the multiple choice questions, you have the option to enter your question text here, along with various formatting options. You can include images or videos to enhance your question. You also underneath have the option to enter two options for the multiple choice, and you can add additional answer choices as required. To mark a correct answer, click on the switch to show it as correct. You can have more than one correct answer in this way. On the right hand side, you have various options to accompany your question. You can force anonymous responses. However, doing so will not allow you to mark down points or scoring for each question. You can allocate points per question by entering a numerical value. And you can also allow users to respond multiple times to a question. Each response they enter will count as an additional answer and not change the answer that they have previously submitted. There's also the option where if you have used a scheduled session, you can allow users to elaborate on what they have written. Once you have entered a question, click Save and it will save the question for you. Short answer questions consist of a question and ideally a 1 or 2 word answer. Entering answers will create options that users If they write the same answer in, will be marked as correct if they have a match. It's therefore important to make sure that you think of every potential answer to a question and why we recommend 1 or 2 word answers. You can enforce capitalisation, which will mean that everything will be counted as capitalised and therefore make it easier to avoid alternatives. However, if capitalisation is important for the answer, then we'd recommend not enabling that. You again have the option to anonymise responses and the option to enter points. Numeric responses consist of a numerical answer. Again, the question box is the same as all previous questions, and the answer must take the form of a number. You can include an answer range by enabling it, and that will allow you to have any answer between 2 set points marked as correct. The final question type is the hotspot question. This allows you to upload an image and add a hotspot, which will mark an area within that image that counts as correct. You can add multiple hotspots, however, they all are unfortunately rectangular, which could lead to some issues with certain images. They can be reshaped and resized to match the image, and you can have multiple areas within an image counting as correct. Once you've created your image, you can click Update, and it will save it as the correct answer. To enter text, you can click on Text, and you'll just be able to type in some information that isn't a question, but might help participants have a further understanding or context to the questions that they're answering. I will now use a quiz that I have previously created to demonstrate how a poll is run. I've opened up an example poll, and you'll notice in the top right hand side there is the option to start. If I click on Start, I get the polling options made available to me. It'll tell me the course name, which is whichever course I created this within. You also have the session ID, which will be a random number that the students need to enter in order to access the poll, or if you have previously reserved an ID, you can use that. You can also choose when the results are shown to the students or participants of the poll. This can either be never, in the review slide only, or always, which means that participants will see answers as they're coming into the poll. If you are using a Canvas integration, you can enforce the student roster, which will mean that only participants from that roster may join the session. And you can also require students to sign in. Requiring students to sign in will remove the anonymity of the quiz or the poll. You can also choose to make certain sections optional. For example, you may wish for students to enter a first name, either as optional or required, or you may wish for all of those options to be hidden. We'll now start the quiz or the poll by clicking Start. You'll see here that it's now said that my polling session is about to begin and has provided me with a session ID. Students will need to go to ttpoll.eu and enter the session ID. I will be using my own mobile device to answer questions as I demonstrate this, so that you can see how the process works. Please note that this session is not live and this session ID will not work. Once I'm ready to start my session, I can click Start Session. I will then have the question displayed on screen. However, on my mobile device, the question will be unavailable until I click the play button at the bottom. This will allow me a brief moment to adjust any settings that I have. For example, show results. I can switch to either review mode, always, or never. At the moment, I have it set for always. I shall now click play, which will open the polling for this slide. On my mobile device, I now have the option to answer a particular question. I have selected B, and it has responded in real time by highlighting B. I can change my answer to C, and it will update as well. but I'm going to stick with answer B. As you can see, because the results have been shown, they're displayed in real time on screen. If I change results to review only, it will remove that and not show any results until the next slide, which is the review slide. I'm now going to click stop to end the polling for this particular question. And it will now show the results and show the correct answer. This is also displayed on the mobile device through the web page. I then click next slide and to load the next slide. Again, I need to click play in order to show the question to students using the mobile device in order for them to participate. I'm now into the question. Because the results are set to not show at the moment, nothing else has been displayed. If I change it to always show, you can see that I have clicked on the crow as required by the question. I'm now going to stop the polling for this particular question, and it'll show the highlighted area and that I have the correct answer. Now going to skip to the next slide, open the polling for a numeric response. Because the responses are ranked here for numerical values, I will enter a value on my mobile, and you can see the response has been submitted. So for things where you have numerical responses, you might wish for the results to be review only or never shown, so that students don't see a potential answer and answer that, rather than pick their own answers. I'm going to stop, jump to the next slide, and I'm going to change this before I open the polling to always show results. I'm now going to open the polling, and again demonstrate that if I type in an answer, click submit, it will be visible for everybody. So a word of warning for numeric responses and short answers, you can see answers as they come in. The same for multiple choice questions as well. Switching to review only hides those. Now I'm going to stop that. That shows the correct responses, number of responses, and so on, and skip to the end. I've now finished the session, and it'll allow me to give the session a name to save the data to. If I click end, it will now save me the data. Having just finished a session, if I click on the results tab, I will be able to view the data from the session that was run. Going into the session straight away, because I have linked this course to Canvas, shows me the gradebook feed. This will show me all the sessions that I've run and their gradebook scores that will feed into Gradebook. If you haven't linked a course to Canvas, this will appear blank and you'll just have the Sessions button available. Clicking on Sessions will display you a list of the various sessions that you have run by name. I will know that this is the session that I just ran. Click on Reports and I can see the data, what the students answered, how many responses, and the numbers correct. It'll also give me information on participants, if participants signed in. However, if you set it to anonymous, you'll just have a series of guests. You can also use Schedule within Turning Point to set sessions to occur at specific times. These sessions can be accessed via a link, so you might find it useful for either a mop-up session or a post-session feedback, or a session to occur at a time when you don't want to have to open and close polling, but just let students access it in their own time. Schedule content is set within a content, a particular quiz, and the schedule button. You can then set a start and an end time via a time zone, and all the usual other options apply. Once you've created a scheduled session, you can then go to your schedule, and you'll see that there is a session either about to open or currently running. You then have the link as well to share the session, so if you click on that, you can access the link and share that as required. Results from scheduled sessions do not appear in the results section, but appear within the scheduled section, and you can access them by clicking on the particular scheduled session and the reports for that. They are displayed in exactly the same way as the results section. Finally, the Settings button in the top right allows you to change your settings and the default settings within Turning Point Web. This means that for session settings you can set your preferred defaults, and you can also set the default for when you run a poll. So if you always prefer to have sessions on review only, you can change it to that. So in future, every time you start a poll, those will be the default settings. This is also the location where you can create reserved session IDs. If you click on the Add New Reserved Session ID, you can type in a specific name unique to a session. This might be useful if you're wanting to run a particular demonstration, but most of the time we'd recommend a random session ID is perfectly fine. Once you're finished with the session ID, we always recommend deleting it so that session ID can be used by other people in the future. Thanks for listening.